Hi, Linda.
Hey.
So how did you get started in theater?
Well, I started singing when I was very young, and my uncle, Sal Carson, had a orchestra in San Francisco, and so I started singing with his orchestra and also his band because he had a lot of four-piece bands, and so I started singing with them, and then I took in school. I went to City College and I went to San Francisco State and I took theater classes there and directing. And at City College, I sang with the orchestra. So that was a lot of fun, to be in college and sing with the orchestra. And then I auditioned for Steve Silver of Beach Blanket Babylon. And that's how I began in it's cabaret theater, you know. Um, and so that's basically how I got started.
So Beach Blanket was kind of your first professional leading role.
In theater. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of singing before that. When I was 18, I sang with this Elvis Presley impersonator, and then after that I ran for Miss San Francisco and I became Miss San Francisco, and then right after that I got into Beach Blanket Babylon, and I was do you want to hear the story how Steve Silver discovered me, because it's very interesting? Okay.
Okay.
Well, I was working in Macy's department store. There was a restaurant and called Mama's Restaurant, and I was working there. And I came out after my shift, and my sister was standing there talking to this man in shorts, and I had no idea who he was. So she went like this, like to come over, and she had met Steve Silver at a party and told him that she had a little sister who sang. So he saw me and he wanted to meet me. And this was right outside Macy's security. That's where we came out after we worked. And he was standing there and she introduced me to him and he said, "So you sing?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "Well, why don't you sing something for me right now?" And I thought, "Oh, this is my chance. I got to do it." And so I started belting out all of these songs, and he was pretty shocked because I have a kind of a powerful voice. And we had a crowd of people surrounding us. And I guess he was impressed. And so he got on the telephone at security and he called and got me tickets that night to come and see the show. And I did. And then I went to the auditions and I got into the show. So, but Steve Silver used to love to tell that story to people. He loved that story.
It's a good story. Yeah.
So I was discovered in front of Macy's department store
Not,
downtown.
not a bad way to get your start.
No,
So what would you say are some of the inspirations for your work, both
some of the,
in theater and in directing and other stuff like that?
well, I have always loved to sing. Singing is my first love, and so I was very inspired growing up by. When I grew up, Elvis Presley was still alive, and so I saw him. Now I'm old, but I'm not that old when after I say this. Okay, I saw him 16 times in person, and we would go like night after night. That's how we did it. And I learned a lot about performing by just watching Elvis Presley, and I was very inspired by Elvis. And I also loved Vicky Carr, and I used to sing with her records. And there was a point where I could sing exactly like her. I can sound a lot like her. And that helped me a lot in the auditions for Steve Silver, because when Steve would audition, he would say crazy things to you, like, you know, uh, okay, sing like Judy Garland impersonating Betty Davis. And you would be like, what? you know, and you would try to do it. So I was very inspired by a lot of singers growing up, and I think that I wanted to just be a singer. My goal was going to Las Vegas and performing, which I was able to do, luckily.
So how would you say that doing that singing kind of having that be something that later shaped your career, how would you say that kind of changed your life, your involvement in theater, your involvement in music?
Well, the fact that I really only saw myself as a singer. When I got into theater and performing with Beach Blanket, um, a whole new world opened for me because I had never danced before. I've never acted before. And I was thrown out on stage and I had to dance and I had to act. And I was determined, you know, I'm going to do this because of my love for singing. I'm going to do this. And so I did, and then after Beach Blanket, I was actually 3 months pregnant, and I performed in a show called Christmas with the Crawfords, and I portrayed Judy Garland, uh, an older Judy Garland, because that's how the script was written, not young Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and so Beach Blanket kind of prepared me for that, and they asked me to go to New York and perform in Christmas with the Crawfords. But unfortunately, that happened on 9/12, the day after 9/11. And my first response was, yes, I'm going to go. Yes, I'm going to go. But then other things happened after 9/11 that were scary. And so then I didn't go because I had a 1-year-old and an 8-year-old. So I made the decision not to go.
Yeah,
But that
intimidating.
theater, theater just prepared me for being a Beach Blanket, prepared me for other theater things.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So obviously you used your singing experience to move into theater, and then you use your theater experience to move into like directing and owning a theater company. How would you say that what advice would you give people who are wanting to use their theater experience or use their music experience to move into different creative industries, like you have?
Well, I would say the things that you learn along the way, you incorporate into other things that you do. That's that, like my singing led me to the dancing and acting. So I would say keep yourself open to other things that may come along. Don't say no, try it. And then that will help you. That will move you from A to B to C and so forth. Keep your mind open to experience lots of different things.
Thank you. So using that kind of experience that you gained, I know that you have now released 2 CDs, one of which you did write some of. How did you kind of begin your career as a recording artist and songwriter, going back to your singing roots?
Well, since I had a love of singing, um, I I started writing, and my country CD, the one that I wrote, I wrote a song when I found out that Steve Silver he was dying, and so the last song on my CD I wrote for Steve, and I actually gave him a copy before he died because I was able to record it. Um, but you know, when you have a love of something, it just kind of leads to other things. And I knew that if I wrote songs, then I could record them because I own them. And it just happened. I just started writing, and then the music came to me, and I had it all copywritten. And I just, I wrote the country CD. And then the Christmas CD that I did, I wanted to have. I wanted to have something that I could leave behind. So someday when I'm passed on, they would have, my family would have, and people that had seen me perform, that they would have, to remember me, and also to enjoy, while we're all living, the country one, if you like country music, and also Christmas comes every year. So you could listen to it, once a year.
Yeah. So speaking of one of the other myriad things that you've done, what did make you want to start Linda Bulgo's musical productions?
Well, okay. So my son was at a grammar school, and it was his last year there. And I thought, what could I do? Because I was actually working in the yard with the kids. I love children. And so I thought, what could I do for the school before he graduated? Because we wouldn't be there anymore. And I thought, well, let's put on a play. So I went to the school and I said I would like to put on a play, and everybody went crazy. I didn't know that I was going to start a business from this. And so I we started it, and we held auditions, and I could see the children loved it, even through the audition process. And the parents, it was like magic. It opened a door for everybody, and people came together and supported it. And I saw the love and the togetherness that it brought people together, and everybody was supporting each other, and they were excited, and they had never used this little theater before in the grammar school. So I saw what that did, and I thought, I know how to do this. And I want to start a theater company. So I actually started a company with another mother at the school after that. And then we had that company for about 5 years, and some things happened, and I dissolved that business. And at the time of having that company, I started another company, Linda Bulgo's Musical Productions, in the state of Nevada, because I was producing a show in Las Vegas that I was in. And when I dissolved the California business, San Francisco, I wanted to continue a business, but this time I would have to do it by myself. So I was told, why don't you just move? Your home is Nevada, but you move, the business to California. So then you just start a business in California. It's like a branch, And so I began Linda Bulgo's Musical Production, and I wanted to teach children I wanted them to know how to perform on stage, because a lot of times I watch performers and they don't know how to act on stage. They need 500 people behind them. You should be able to command a stage by yourself, really. You don't need all these dancers and everybody. That's how I was brought up, watching people perform. One person was on stage and they commanded the stage. You can see that sometimes when you watch old, I'm trying to think of a show that is just like a singer. You see them stand on stage and they command it, and it's powerful. And that's what I like. So I wanted to teach children the proper stage etiquette on stage. And that was my main goal. And also give them the love of theater, teach them things I have learned in life through my career. So that's basically why I wanted to start Linda Bulgo's Musical Productions.
That's really cool. So starting your own theater company kind of from the ground up, obviously you had that original company, but still having to work to build it. What were some of the challenges that you encountered, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I didn't know if the business would take off, because I was doing it with someone else before, and I didn't know. I just didn't know if it would be able to continue with just me doing it. I went through a lot at that time, because sometimes you have a lot of obstacles in your life that you have no control over. But I'm very determined, and I was going to make it work. I was going to do whatever I needed to do to make this work. And I just kept at it. I talked to people, and a lot of doors opened. I have found in my career, when something is supposed to happen, doors just open. You have to keep knocking on them, but everything falls into place. And with my company, when I started it, things fell into place, and it was like, this is supposed to be. So I did have obstacles, but I just kept going.
So obviously you're now currently directing shows for Linda Bulgo's Musical Productions. What made you start directing? Was that your first time? And how have you pulled from your experience as a singer and an actor to make you a better director?
Okay, so I used to direct something that's called the Passion Play at St. Cecilia's to the 8th graders. And so that was my beginning. I was directing with another woman, and then I used to go to Abraham Lincoln High School, and I'm very fortunate because it was very nice of them to put me on the Hall of Fame at Lincoln, and the person who was in charge of all of that was doing a show at Abraham Lincoln to, I think it was a benefit. This was a long time ago. And so he asked me to direct the show. And I had never directed anything by myself. So I directed it and I thought, wow, this is really fun. And so that was my beginning of directing. So I knew I could do it. And I'm sorry, what was your second question?
Have you pulled from your experience as a singer and an actor to make yourself a better director? Like, what things have you seen directors do in the past that you are now using? Stuff like that.
Okay. So being at Beach Blanket Babylon, I didn't realize how much I absorbed by watching Steve Silver, the creator of Beach Blanket, and Kenny Maslow, the director. I really watched a lot of things that were going on as a performer. I would watch things, and I really honestly believe that by watching that, experiencing the way they directed things, uh, that helped me, because a lot of times also, though, when you're directing, it's like there's a little voice inside of you that kind of helps you with, like they should do that, or it's like I get this feeling that when I see them do something, no, it should be done like this. So it's intuition, it's watching people in my career, how they have directed things. That is what has helped me to direct children.
Wow. And everyone in the club, just in case you were like thinking that you recognize the name Steve Silver, it is also the name of our other theater, the Carol Training and the Steve Silver, because he did graduate from Lowell as well. So what would you say is the most important skill to have in the theater industry?
Patience. um, singing, dancing, and acting, you've got to be a triple threat. You really do, because of the fact that you never know. You can be great at one thing, but there's always somebody that's going to be maybe a little bit better. And be persistent. Just if you really want it. I really believe that performing is in your blood. You are born with wanting to be a performer. It's not something that you just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to perform. I think it's just, you really want it. And it's just something that you just have to just keep going after.
Cool. So how has the pandemic changed what you do, and how are you able to work through the challenges that brought? I know we talked about this a little bit before the other club members got here, but I'm sure they would love to hear it as well.
Okay. So I used to put on main stage shows. 200 people would come and see the show. It would be a live performance. Well, that's, not now. So our last show that we were going to do was called Frozen, Frozen. And that we had to stop doing. So we had to change things because it hit in March, and that's when my classes began the end of February. And I think we were into maybe the 4th class, and then I had to shut down. So we had to figure out fast what we were going to do. And so we went online, we went on Zoom, and I hired a dance teacher, and she taught the kids the dances, because I had already rented the show. I had paid for everything. So what we did was we just taught the kids the dances, and they did it on Zoom. And then we put together a little show, and they had their scripts already. So they acted at home. The parent or whoever they lived with filmed it, sent it in, and we put together a movie of the show. Now what I'm doing and what I've been doing since, well, I went online on Zoom with summer camp. And then I was able to teach 3 weeks in summer camp live, but the kids had to take the full 3 weeks. And so we were able to do that. And then I filmed it, sent a link home to the parent or whoever they lived with, and then they could send that to family and friends. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I did in December, we did Peter Pan, and but it was just acting. There's no singing, there's no dancing allowed indoors, and there's only 14 children allowed. So it would be another teacher and myself, and I'm teaching the blocking. We had auditions, they auditioned, and we're just acting. There's no singing, there's no dancing. So put together the show. It's a 10-week class. And so I have a dress rehearsal the week before, and then show day. So they come dressed as their character. They find elements of a costume at home, and they come dressed in their costume on the dress rehearsal day. And I film the dress rehearsal. So just in case there's anything we missed on performance day, we could pull it from the dress rehearsal to create a full show. So we did that with Peter Pan, and now I'm working on Alice in Wonderland. So the kids are doing Alice in Wonderland, and I believe we have 3 more classes left. So we have a rehearsal this coming Thursday, and then we have the dress rehearsal, and then we have the show, and we videotape dress rehearsal, show, put it together, and then we send home a link for them to watch the show and then send it to family and friends. So that's how I'm continuing the company right now. And I don't know yet about summer camp. Things are better now. So I'm hoping to have a summer camp, in-person summer camp for 8 weeks, but you know what happens.
It's just so cool to kind of hear all the different ways people are still continuing to do theater through the pandemic. All right. Thank you so much. Do you have any final tips or things you'd like to share before we pass it out to the audience and see if they have any questions?
No, I kind of think I said, a lot about, being persistent and determined and all that. So
all right.
Questions.
Mandy, I'll pass it over to you. And anyone, if you have a question, just please remember to put it into the chat, or if you want to unmute and ask it, you can.
Yeah, I did not end up receiving any audience questions, but if you have a question now and want to either drop it in the chat or say it out loud on the mic, just gonna give it like a few seconds in case anyone wants to jump in. Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
How have you found it just financially being just working in theater and as your own and working in your own theater? How difficult has that been on you financially, or have you had any problems with money just surviving while trying to be fully in theater, or has that not really been a problem for you?
Well, without the pandemic, when I'm able to work full time, it's hard because you have to pay everybody, and you charge a certain amount of money per student, and that has to pay for everything. So I do a 14-week class, and that 14 weeks of tuition that I collect from students, that has to pay for the theater, and that has to pay for the rental of the school, and that has to pay for all tech people and teachers. So you have to budget it out, because you also have costumes that you have to buy. So there's a lot that's involved in it, but I do make a salary from it. I really don't have a lot of financial problems with it, because you have to kind of, with the theater, you have to kind of, they tell you how much they want for it, but then you can kind of talk to them a little bit. It's kind of that, you know, where you have to have a budget for it, and you have to think about, you know, how much money is it worth it to do for me? I do it more for the love of it, you know, but I do make a salary. So it's not that hard doing it financially.
Nice,
Yeah.
very nice.
Andrea has a question, or multiple questions actually. How many kids have come through your class? Okay, I'm gonna it's to your classes, and how many have any continued to study theater after they've graduated?
So I normally have about 70 or 80 children every 14 weeks. It depends. That, and then summer camp, I can see maybe about 120 children, but I do summer camp weekly. So that's not like all at once. And for my 14-week class, I'm offering 4 classes. So that's 80 children in 4 different classes, 4 days a week. There's a lot of kids that have gone on. They're in college now. That began with me in acting. It is a beautiful thing because my first business that I started, it was at Miraloma, that, you know, the first show we did, Peter Pan. It wasn't a business yet, and they didn't even know how much they loved theater. These kids were in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and there's one in particular that he was Captain Hook, and he was unbelievable on stage, and he didn't even know he could do this, but he loved it, and he was struggling in school. And I remember a teacher coming to me and saying, it's unbelievable what the acting has done for this boy, because he is doing better in school, and he has continued acting. So he continued, and now he's going to college, and I believe he wants to be a writer. I think that's what he's studying. He's in he was in Southern California. Now I think he's home, but that's what he was studying. So a lot of children. I just had one girl email me to ask me if she could help in summer camp, and she's going to Southern California to one of the colleges, and it was very nice because she thanked me for showing her the love of theater. And now she's going to go into theater. So it's like it's magic, you know, what this does for people.
I can imagine how rewarding it would be just to see the kids like grow up and, you know, do all this because of what you've inspired them to do. But
Right.
Yeah, Andrea wants to know, what do you hope they remember most about their time with you? By they, I mean the kids.
That I guess that how much they saw I loved theater. I hope that they see the love that I had of theater, and they fed off of that. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, just to see how passionate I was about theater, and they just ate all that up, and then they got the love of it. Because I can see as a teacher, if I'm excited about something, they become excited about something, and you always have to be in control. You can never lose control, because if you lose control, then they'll freak out. So you always have to keep it together no matter what happens around you. You have to stay focused and say, okay, I got this, you know. So that's a really important thing to remember if you're going to go into this, to stay focused, and no matter what happens around you, you don't panic, or you don't, even if you're panicking inside, you don't let them see it.
Yeah, just don't show it.
Don't show it.
Yeah. I have a question. I know you mentioned doing shows. If anyone here would be interested in doing tech for a show you're doing, is that possible?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm always looking for tech people. Now, Brody, he
Yes.
was our stage man, and he did a great job, guys.
Thank you.
I'm always looking for tech people. Yeah, so backstage tech, helping move scenery. Sometimes on sound, I'm looking for people. I don't know what it's going to look like after, COVID, after we are able to get back into a theater. We have performed at the Scottish Rite on 19th and Sloat, and that's a huge theater, 760. And so when you have a big backstage like that, you need people. So
And-
yes, but he's interested.
And club members, it's a really good opportunity. It's super close to school, and not that big of a time commitment while giving you a lot of experience in technical theater. I'd highly recommend doing it. I've certainly enjoyed my time there. All right.
Good.
Thank you so much, Linda. Club members, stick around for a little bit just to talk for a sec. But yeah, Linda, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're so welcome. Good luck, everybody. And yeah, and if you want to get a hold of me, my website is Linda Bulgo's musicalproductions.com. Brody can give you some information about it. So if anybody wants to, maybe it would be spring of like 1 year from now, it might be, that's when we're in a theater again. Okay, so great. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.